I mean, my niece is getting ready to have a Taylor Swift birthday party, so
Can I
I'll leave
come?
that there. Besties. And I think for me, does your journal need to be on my playlist every day? I don't know.
I'm a happy person. In general, I like to listen to happy music. I like Lover. Then she released a series of albums that were so depressing. I was like, I can't even listen to this.
Now that she's happy, is she gonna write bad music?
See, but I like it. Like, let the girl be happy. Let her write some bops. Let me just have my bops.
Hello and welcome to Group Chat. I'm your host, Bentley, and today I'm welcoming Ashleigh Chrisena Ricci, actor and host of BTPM's Let's Go. That's Buffalo Toronto Public Media's Let's Go. Dr. Naila Ansari-Catillo, professor at Buff State University, choreographer and performing artist, and Donny Kutzbach, co-owner of Town Ballroom and Funtime Presents. So today, you know these. This is like the all-star cast here. You know who these people are.
Today, I was so excited when I came in.
This is a little reunion. On today's group chat, we're exploring how creativity on stage and on screen and in music helps us process emotion and connect with others. We'll start with Buffalo's theater scene, where local productions offer real-time release, reflection, and community. Then we'll look at how pop culture mirrors our feelings and challenges and the ways film and music open conversations about mental health. Later, we'll dive into fan reactions to Taylor Swift's new album, unpacking debates about influence, writing credits, and parasocial connection. And as always, we'll swap stories about comfort shows and performances that help us escape or recharge. But first, what's happening in the group chats? Is there a pop culture tie-in? I know. Listen,
Every day
Naila,
is something new.
and I know we are going to be talking about the productions that you all just were in and were involved in. Yeah. And I know Dreamgirls is probably...
I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
I'm so
I can't wait. But yeah, what's happening in the group chat?
Oh, group chat. We're on to our next show. So that's happening this weekend. So we are going strong. It's at Lincoln Center in New York City, passing the crown. Woo-hoo.
I was trying to make this work to be able
yes,
to go.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait. We chat with Donny afterwards too. So it's MC Light and Rhapsody, and it's all women orchestra band. I know we're trying to get it here to Buffalo, so I was talking to Donny afterwards. So we're Ansari Saxon. We're at the tour management working with them to get it going, and we just helped them out in Denver, and That's so awesome. my group chat went from crazy Dreamgirls to crazy passing the crown logistics of everything.
Yeah. Is that Sunday night in Lincoln Center?
Sunday night, Lincoln Center. So if anyone's in New York City, make sure you get your tickets. It's actually pay what you can in the David Geffen Theater. So super dope. And MC Light and Rhapsody are amazing. So it's worth the trip.
How much do flights cost right now?
I know.
Can I make it
it's from
there?
$5 to $35 to pay what you can.
Yeah.
So.
I know. I'm like, wait, can I still make this work?
I know. We're like a little over 80% capacity. So we're right, we're just like kind of like right there.
Yeah.
So just
still some tickets for sale, huh?
And then we can talk about that Buffalo thing after.
Oh,
Mike.
Yes.
How about you, Chrisena?
So these days I've really been kind of a lurker in my group chats. I'm busy. So I've not been responding. It's been a lot of like just the thumbs up emoji to what people are saying. I'm like, yes, I see what you're saying. I have to go back on stage. It's been great. We just finished Young Frankenstein this weekend.
Yes.
And that was awesome. Wow, what a whirlwind. But I was basically unreachable for that entire week because I was just in rehearsal or working on stuff at home. And now this week, I've started my next project. So that's going to be just string at the Kavinoki Theater. So I'm really just lurking in those group chats. I owe somebody a Venmo. I'm so sorry, Rachel. I will get to you. I promise. I promise. It's just, I keep thumbs upping. Yeah. I'm like, yes, I remember that I owe you this, but I'm so sorry. Yes.
It's an understanding this time of year, I think.
Yeah.
How about you, Donny?
Let's see. There's some interesting things going on in America right now, and that's been overarching a lot of it. Mm-hmm. But hitting closer to home immediately and in my heart, the Buffalo Bills.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was a long day and long night Sunday out at the tailgate and then in the stadium. Mm-hmm. But the chatter has not stopped on all of what went down on Sunday night.
And then you're looking ahead because you're going to travel for the next game, potentially?
Yeah, I'm heading to Atlanta. So even though everyone's like, oh, I'm so glad we have a break. We don't have any home games. We can just kind of sit and relax and watch. I'm like, no, kid.
So you're not a true fan like Donny.
I gotta figure out how I'm getting to Atlanta this weekend, which I'm going, but I'm not sure how yet.
I'm not surprised. But you already got the tickets, right? Your friend got tickets?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
So you're getting there somehow. Yeah. Well,
Some way.
We'll
figure it out.
So because we have, two very prominent theater people in the room right now, and it is also World Mental Health Day. We were having conversations about how theater can be an escape for people, both on the creative side and then also for viewers. So as far as local shows go, Dreamgirls just wrapped, right?
Yes. Yep.
At Shea's 710. And man, I saw it. I just was blown away.
Stunning.
And all local talent in that.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny. One of our coworkers, actually Charles, that used to be a producer on the show, his I'm blowing up his spot right now, but it's okay. His girlfriend was like, "Is she really singing?"
I got so many text messages when people are like, "Is this live?" And I was like, "Yes,
Deja's just that good.
Yes,
everyone's just really that good.
Like they are 1,000% singing live, and yes, it is better than the Broadway concert version with like Audra McDonald and Billy Porter.
No offense, Audra, I love you,
them, but we tore it up.
Yeah.
My gosh.
And there is a darker theme behind the story of Dreamgirls. Can you talk about that a little bit, Naila? Just, because I think too, when you see the singing and you see the posters and you see that part of it, but there is an underlying.
Yeah, there's so much of like the complexities of Black life in the entertainment industries, particularly Motown. And so you kind of see the glitz and glamour, but you don't know what goes on behind the scenes. So it's like the personal, but then it's also the business aspect of like how many people were getting taken advantage over that time. And then it's also, you find these relationships that you didn't think that you would have with certain actors because you're like, I know that person. And even people that you think are bad, like Curtis, is he's rough around the edges, but he's also part of his environment and he's trying to make it any way he can in this world. And, you have, Connor Graham, who was playing, essentially, he was like our one white actor in the show. So he played multiple roles. Yeah. Gotta have one. He's like the Pat Boone, essentially. But then, just to know these people off stage and to see how they delved into their characters was amazing because that's really who we all are. It's like we're all trying to tell these stories and the complexities of that. But Dreamgirls is really that is like seeing, the big, ways in which we see Black entertainment, but then also what really happens, behind the scene. And it's a true musical in the sense like it doesn't stop. And so telling the story was, for me, it was like everyone was like, well, what is it about for you? And I was like, it's really the fast-paced transitions of life and entertainment and just trying to manage everything when you're on the road and on tour and, just trying to live a sane life and you get kicked out of groups, you're in groups.
Yeah.
People think of Destiny's Child, if you will. But
there were a lot of parallels drawn to that. Hearing people talk in the audience.
Oh, yeah, we had to tell the cast a few times. We had a dramaturg, shout out to Dr. Nicole Morris Johnson. She, we were like, I know some of y'all were not even thought about, don't know anything that happened in the 50s and 60s and 70s, but these are real people. So we had to really connect them and give them some of that historical, context of who these folks were. So it's like, yes, you had Beyonce, you had this, but you also had Diana Ross and the Supremes. And how did they get to Diana Ross and the Supremes when they were just the Supremes and all of that? And like Berry Gordy, who are all these folks, that come onto the scene.
Yeah.
And so, it was an interesting dive for them too as actors to tell this other story, but it's still continuing today.
Yeah. And to have the emotions around it. And yes, it's still continuing today. So you have to look at the history, but then you also have to look at it still happens.
And I'm telling, it's funny. It's like, and I'm telling you, that's one of the main songs in the show. It's so deeply touches people, not because it's just the personal part of it, but that she's getting kicked out of this group. Yeah. And there's like this also relationship that's happened. That happens on tour. It happens in the music industry. And so, it's just you lose your livelihood in multiple ways. And I think that's why that song touches so many people because everyone can kind of relate to like being, kicked out of the group.
Yeah.
But you're not being honest because you're not vulnerable enough. In terms of mental health, I think, Deja, who plays like Effie in the show, that character in itself is just like a mental health roller coaster of like trying to figure out your place and setting in a world that is really corrupt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is that relatability something that is you think is one of the draws maybe to a story that like if you have people in the audience and they can't personally relate, but there's a story there that is relatable, does that help with making people understand the story? And is that also a release for the audience?
I always say, like, I may not be a physician, but for an hour and a half to 2 hours, I'd let you forget about your problems. I think any good theater show, any good artist does that. And I think that's healing in itself. Like, it takes that stress off of anything that and the same with, like, you go to concerts. Like, music has a way, theater has a way of bringing people into someone else's world where you can kind of conceptualize, like, maybe my life isn't that bad, right? Yeah. Or maybe my life is really that bad. Yeah. And then you try to focus and think in a different way. But I always think there's a healing in just letting you forget about your problems and diving into someone else's, story in life.
Yeah. So, Donny, you are on all sides of this. You're in the music business, but you're also a music fan.
Yeah. And make music sometimes. Yeah.
And read about music and live music. And
seems like
yeah. So how do you keep that balance?
It's hard. I mean, it's in, again, we're talking about the Dreamgirls story, but there's always a common thread in things where you can start pulling on it, and it's like, oh, that's mine too. It in the arts, in anything in life, but like in the arts, you could see how you can relate to it, and not necessarily from having done it the exact same way, but that's a real story, and there are so many layers to it, and it really does delve into the process of going from nothing to something, and going from having to really struggle to then you have it, but then you can lose it. In terms of mental health, it is a roller coaster. And on my side of it, I think sometimes like, okay, we're doing great. We've got all these shows coming up, and we're sold out, and then you'll have a couple, and you'll be like, you'll lose tens of thousands of dollars, and you're like, wow, that's hard. Yeah. So it really can be a roller coaster,
right?
Just every single day, not knowing what you're going to be going through, and it takes a toll on your psyche and on your mental health.
So is that why you then have to go to musical performances to keep that balance
or
as
the
a fan?
Or the bills going to stress Donny out.
But I also do find it therapeutic on both sides too. Like, even sometimes when you see something and it's painful and it draws out the pain, but that's also like, it can be like going to therapy. Yeah. So that you can see a performance and it'll make you, when you start crying at something, but that's good too.
Yeah. In case you're just joining us, you're listening to Group Chat. I'm Bentley, your host, and I'm joined by Ashleigh Chrisena Ricci, Dr. Naila Ansari-Catillo, and Donny Kutzbach. It is World Mental Health Day, but we are talking about that in the scope of pop culture, and in particular theater, because we've had some great theater productions recently and continuing. And Chrisena, you were just in Young Frankenstein.
Yes.
Which also has a lot of layers in this topic.
Yes. That was great. It was super fun.
In your explain your character.
So I was an ensemble member, which means I got in the way that Starring Buffalo does their shows. That means I was a ton of different people. Right. So I had to use different dialects and different physicalities. But I got to play Count Dracula, which was great. Never thought I would get that opportunity. I don't know if you can tell, I'm not really the Count Dracula type, but that was really fun. But we had to, it was kind of fast and loose. Just learn your music and just hang on tight. Here we go.
Well, and Frankenstein has had a little bit of a resurgence recently with the new movie, and also Bride of Frankenstein with the Maggie Gyllenhaal movie that's going to be coming out. And there have been discussions around who Frankenstein is. and focusing maybe on him as more than a monster.
Sure.
And then, but you bring in the comedic part of that.
This was definitely like the Mel Brooks version of that. So, but even still, there's still that point of the story of like what is a monster, what makes a monster, which I think is always interesting. Do you become the monster because you're so worried about a monster that hasn't done anything yet, or just because they look different or something? You know, I think there's a lot of questions that you can kind of dig into. This was definitely the Mel Brooks version, so we were very much more like bada bang, you know, it was a different vibe. But definitely it was a good week of a lot of laughter.
And how does that comedy, how does that comedy help? There's also a mental health aspect of comedy and maybe taking a darker story and making it comedic.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of power in theater or film or music in all different aspects. It just depends on what you need. So, you know, it's when the economy is really bad, they've found that a lot of horror films start to really be present in the media, and people like to forget their problems. So they'll go see some horror slasher film, and somehow it's helping you cope with the fears, the real fears that you have. Kind of the same thing, you know, I think Donny brought it up. We're in kind of a tough time. I think that's putting it lightly, but we're in a really tough time globally, but also within our own country. And I think just being able to sit down and laugh about something stupid for a few hours, be silly, be realistic, and be true to yourself and your character, but still just being able to laugh, that can really help heal for a little bit of time. You know, it doesn't solve the world problems, but it definitely has a place in the midst of all of this. And I think it's also quite powerful to laugh in the face of everything going on. So to be able to kind of still find joy and still laugh and produce these shows, and people show up and we laugh for 2 hours, even though there's kind of all of this impending doom happening. There's a lot of power in that. Like, maybe we feel afraid, but for 2 hours we didn't feel afraid. We weren't afraid of you. We were laughing, you know. There's something there.
Well, even, you know, as we were just talking, Naila was talking about Dreamgirls, you know, the characters were going through things, but then, you know, you hear their voices and the singing, and it's just everything will become joyful for a minute. Literally after they're going through this dark time and getting kicked out of a group, and then you hear the singing and you're just like, wait, where am I now?
And I think there's something about music that does that. And I think, you know, even with Star in Buffalo, we have so much theater in Buffalo, but not necessarily all, you know, theater at a high level. And so I think to have those two shows back to back so that folks can really understand like the talent that we have here and the storytelling that we have here. And Star in Buffalo also brings in folks from Broadway, which is also amazing. As well, but we have so many amazing stories that we can tell, and I think that we, you know, sometimes we forget that and we feel like we have to go elsewhere in order to get those stories or to hear and like, have music at that, you know, that level. We, you know, you don't have to go far, and I think, you know, both of our shows definitely showed.
Oh, definitely. You know, it was funny. I got tickets for Dreamgirls just based on the date I could do it, not realizing it was curtain up. And then I was like,
it wore out. Okay. Wore Bentley out.
I was just like, wait. Well, first of all, I was like, oh, what do I have to dress up? But but I loved walking out of the theater and seeing everybody downtown.
You
know, and that week was great because there were so many things going on downtown, and it just felt like this is what we can be. You know, and I was like, I mean, that's why the arts are so important in music and putting on events like Donny. Even if you have a show, like even if you do a couple shows that are sold out and you get one that's not, but just like it is so important to the vitality of a city to have these things going on, because, you know, those people are eating at restaurants. They're around people maybe they don't see all of the time, and they're just experiencing art together. And it's beautiful to see. I think we need to do more of that.
Yeah, arts and culture, I mean, they really bring the spirit of the city out.
Yeah.
Besides the fact, also economically
Right.
brings a ton into, financially into the city as well, which is always kind of wild to me when it's one of the first things people want to cut.
Yep.
But you don't have that vitality without having an art scene.
Right.
You go into any city, when people think about New York City or they go to Chicago or LA, like it's the arts are the first thing that they point to. And I think with Buffalo, we're getting there. We have more to do, but it costs money. Like we need funds to, produce a lot of these things, particularly on the scale in which, we were able to do some of the things that we do here. We need more of that. And I think that brings us joy in these really difficult times. On top of like fighting against a lot of things that are pushing against what we kind of know to be, bring us together in terms of just humanity.
Yeah. Well, we're going to continue this conversation because it's an important one. We were talking about the arts and mental health and also in achieving joy and in the creative process. Coming up, more of that on Group Chat on BTPM NPR. Welcome back to Group Chat. I'm your host, Bentley, and I'm joined by Ashleigh.
Ooh, that's a fun name.
I like that.
Ashleigh Chrisena Ricci.
What's up?
September has not been kind to me. It's because of all of your events.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry.
Ashleigh Chrisena Ricci, actor and host of BTPM's Let's Go. Dr. Naila Ansari-Catillo, professor at Buffalo State University, choreographer and performing artist, and Donny Kutzbach, co-owner of Town Ballroom and Funtime Presents. So, yes, we've been talking about the amazing productions that have been happening in Buffalo, and we have two people that have been a part of them, both Dreamgirls and Young Frankenstein, and the importance of having an arts and culture scene, not, even for the economy of a city, but I mean, the well-being of a city, and it is World Mental Health Day. We are not mental health experts, but we know.
Noted. Clocked it, as the kids say. Clocked it.
But
no
I think right? That
okay.
Or was that like last year? I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bentley.
Okay, I got to remember it. No, that's why Naila's here because she keeps me in touch with the up-to-date sayings.
6-7 is we want to go about it.
Yeah, 6-7. Sorry.
6-7.
I feel like we maybe just triggered like all the teachers who listen to this are now triggered. Sorry.
or we look lame. But for the consumer of art and going to shows and the viewer, obviously there's therapeutic aspects of that, but the creators, there's a whole other side to that. I mean, and as we talk about theater, music is a big element of that, but also musical artists. And yes, we will be talking about Taylor Swift later, if that's what you're waiting for.
Thank God.
Swifties, we will be talking about that album. But there's been a lot of talk in the hip hop community around mental health. Now, I think it's been an ongoing discussion, but I don't know if there's certain people that have sparked that, including Kanye and, some of the things that have been happening with him. But also then the artists that are, talking about it, like Kendrick and, so when these discussions are being had and artists are coming out talking about these things, do you think that it is helpful to a bigger picture? Can it be harmful? Does it depend on how it's being talked about?
Ooh. I think it's always helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree too.
I think it's always helpful. Even if it's, Kanye's been, or Ye, I guess, he's been really unwell.
Yeah.
And I think we've all seen it. And I don't think that is harmful. I think if anything, it's showing like if someone this big can be struggling this deeply and unfortunately in such a public way, I don't, it's like anybody can suffer. Anybody can be struggling. Doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account. If you don't have the resources or the people around you to help support you appropriately, it's going to impact you too. So nobody's immune, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Nobody's immune from mental health crises or issues.
Right. And I think with celebrities, they're always being, put in the spotlight for the bad things that happen, like arrests but then there is nothing in the background of that. Like, where are these things coming from?
Sure.
Right.
People aren't just bad people. What is happening?
Yeah.
Like Lil Nas X recently.
Oh,
he
yeah.
got arrested. Like that was.
He had a psychotic episode.
Yeah, totally. And
It happens.
People's responses. I think, you give people permission because I thought a lot of people were actually very kind of forgiving in the moment, maybe more so than they used to be when mental health was like not ever talked about, because it was just like, oh, he's high, he's crazy. Like they would just kind of throw him out. But now people are like, okay, we need to get him help. Like, how can we get him help? How can we give him more of a safe environment? And I think that's important because it just allows folks to say, okay, he's getting help. Let's see how maybe I can get some help because I can recognize that or family members or friends.
It destigmatizes it,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Like even the way that we used to talk about Britney Spears when she obviously was having a psychotic break. She shaved her head. She's erratic behavior. She's undiagnosed or improperly diagnosed, and I think unmedicated during that period of time. The way that the media spoke about her was cruel. And absolutely so cruel. And now they look back and even some of the people who interviewed her, they're like, wow, I was on the wrong, in the wrong place for that. And now you know better, so you do better.
Right.
And I do think that's sort of happening on a societal level. We know better now because we've talked about it. And now we've actually seen some of these things happen. So when we see Lil Nas X have a psychotic break, we know, okay, maybe he didn't sleep. Maybe he's just like unmedicated. Like there's a million things that could happen, and it could happen to anybody at any time where all of a sudden something goes wrong in your chemistry and you have an episode. And I think it's just, the whole way that we are talking about it is different than 20 years ago.
Oh, for sure.
Well, and if you look at the bigger, the span of time, like it really wasn't that long ago where we probably should have known better to be, like when Britney Spears was going through this, like we did know about mental health. It's just nobody was really talking about it. And I don't know that people were, it's the sensationalism of everything was more important. So I think when like artists themselves are saying it, it does have more of a power, I think, than somebody trying to analyze. But I guess even when the experts come out and talk about it and say like, listen, this person might be going through something, it does make you think twice about just being probably just kinder. But then also if you're struggling to feel like you can also, oh, maybe this is what's going on with me, or maybe just going to talk to somebody.
Yeah. And I think there's a bit of a difference too, because celebrities used to have a private life. There wasn't all this social media. So when something happened, it's like, oh, they overdosed. Like it was just like a shock, and then it was you're like, oh, they must have really been going through it. Now, and that's the kind of like the gift and curse is like now you can see people really kind of having these episodes in real time because everyone has a camera everywhere. There's social media, so that you're really seeing what mental health looks like and people being unwell, what that looks like in real time. But I still don't think that we've gotten to the point that we have enough people to manage it. Is the issue, which is why people are going to AI to get, therapy. Because, the gift is people now on a kind of a mass, like, okay, I need to get help. The bad part about it is when you don't have good therapists. Oh yeah, because that's also a real issue is that you don't have a therapist that looks like you, or you don't have a therapist that can relate to you. Or you just have,
or you don't have the money for.
You don't have the money for the therapist. That's good, and then you're just getting someone
time.
It's a time.
You're just trying to get through your day and take care of your family, do your job. And it's hard to even take that hour out every week or 2 weeks or more, however often you can or would go. It's hard. And the bigger fundamental problem that I see with especially with artists, is there's two things that I see. And I've been around artists and artists who have been relatively at, especially at ascendant spots of their career. They always have people around them who don't help them. And you hear this story. And it goes back for years and years, and it's like Elvis's story. Everyone, and they're also paying for everybody around them. So they have this whole team of people who don't care and also rely on them. And that is not a way to get healthy. They're going to keep you on the train. And as you were saying, we're seeing people are on camera all the time. People are constantly being forced to create content, not even art, content. Like they have to have so many posts a day on whatever their social media is. And it is a grind. And we as human beings are not, we can't do that. You can't be on all the time. And people give up things like the thing I've become the biggest proponent of lately, besides, drinking less and, avoiding drugs and those kind of things, are sleep better. If you're going to sleep. But people like that, you can't even, they don't even get time to sleep enough. They're constantly on. And that is like, those are the things that if you have fragility in your mental health, that's going to make it worse.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the people that end up getting some type of help, which, I'm going to, call it out, is like the goop world. Like that, you get that wealthy crew of people that can affiliate, what's her name? Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, let's go to yoga. Let's go to and it's like, people can't pay for that either. Right. Yeah. So it's like, we have to figure out a way that holistically on a day-to-day basis, we can check on one another, be like, hey, you good? Like, you got a lot going on. You need me to help you watch the kids. You need to, I think we have to figure out a community response rather than kind of always relying on these like financial, mechanisms to getting healthy and quote unquote wellness.
Well, and that's, even tied to what Donny was saying is having the yes people around you, especially with artists who are they're just, and I mean, their management, their labels, they just want them to be producing. They want them doing as many shows as they can be doing and putting out music. And so, you know what, if they have to do a drug that helps them, they don't care as long as they're, and I think that having the community around you. And then also, I think with addiction, you see the dual diagnosis all the time about mental health being related to addiction. And you just want to like throw away addicts.
Yeah.
And I
was gonna say it's so interesting because it's like everything that was going on with the Diddy trial. I think one of the things that was surprising to most people was how many drugs that they were doing on a daily basis, and how many he was using specifically just to survive. Because it almost becomes natural to us to see them like that, because that becomes their everyday persona to just live. And so, there's obviously that case was a lot in a lot of different ways. But when you just heard about the amount of drugs, it's just like, how do you survive on a day-to-day basis of having to be at the forefront like that? I don't know that
you don't.
You can't.
That's the bottom line.
Right.
You either die or you crash.
Right.
And
Yeah, because it's, and I think then the artists themselves are worried about, because they've always produced like this or performed, under the influence. They're scared to do it without it.
Right.
So then it makes them more hesitant to maybe get treatment or to try to take a break, because breaks, nobody wants anybody to take a break, which is really what you need is the rest and to be removed from the situations. So, I mean, I think that we know more now about these things because of media and just being able to see everything about everybody's lives right now. But to Naila's point, like, what are we doing about it now?
Right, because you still have people on there trolling, saying craziness. Yeah, like it was like, I always give it to like Denzel. He was like, I don't get on social media. Like, also he was a time before, but he had a name before the social media, so it's a different game for him. But it's like, how do we have a world where social media may be a thing for folks to get followers and people to come to their shows and films or whatever, but they still can have their private life. Like, how do we go back to that, where they can have their private life and not have to travel so much? Because I think even the traveling got exacerbated, because it's like you take a moment to go away and then it's like you're done.
Yep. In case you just joined us, you're listening to Group Chat. I'm your host, Bentley, here with Ashleigh Chrisena Ricci, Naila Ansari-Catillo, and Donny Kutzbach. Naila, as you were just talking about social media and breaks, Donny, are artists even allowed to take breaks anymore? Or because you do see the artists that I think breaks are can be good for people's careers, because, and we will talk about that with Taylor Swift coming up.
I'm ready.
There are cases where people took breaks and that like saved their career. There are people that should take breaks and didn't, and that crashed their career.
Yeah.
So what is that balance, and how does that get figured out? I mean, you look at Oasis, that tour, like, would they have been as good as they were? Would this tour have been as successful if they didn't go away? Because they were hot messes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
drunk
think
on
Donny
stage.
Could speak to this like a little bit better, but I think when you're a true artist, I think, and maybe this is me being biased. I don't think that a lot of people are really in their artist bag because they're so in their content bag that when you're a true artist, like people, there's that moment that like, I actually want you to go away and get time so that we know when you come out with that next album is going to be
awesome.
Fire, right? Like, I feel like even with like Adele, let's say, it's like everybody was like, oh, Homegirl was not in a breakup. That one album was a mess, or you know what I mean? Or when you're just putting album after album after album out, it's like you don't have that time to really develop as an artist. And the same with like actors. Like some of the best actors we see are not doing a movie, maybe Samuel L. Jackson. He might be the only person. I don't know what he does, but outside of him, you're not seeing these folks doing back to back that are really good in their like craft and their artistry. And I think we have to go back to that because so many people are like they're influencers and so they're making money doing kind of whatever, but they're not in their artist bag.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing I see a lot, and I know I'm going to go back to being an old head on this, but having Gen Z in my life, and it's not necessarily my kids, but when I see a lot of younger people and I talk to them, and they're more interested in being influencers than they are artists.
Yes.
And I don't know. I don't necessarily see the sustainability of it, but then again, AI is changing everything. And I mean, there's going to be AI influencers. There's not going to need influencers anymore. So I don't know what people want to be influencers do. But there's like a merry-go-round to being an artist and having to constantly be on and being on the stage and doing the thing. In taking a break from parts of it, I think that recharges. I think the best artists tend to go away for a while and they do work on something. They're not sitting on an island in the sun.
Doing nothing.
Yeah.
They're taking time though, and they're reflecting, and that's to me that's what feeds the art. I do think that you have to step back for a little while, and I think the best artists figure it out and they know how to do it.
Yeah.
I think also knowing, like, I'm a regional artist, but I take the summers off. Like, I try to not book any contracts in the summer unless it's something like really like that I just can't, like dream role that I just can't pass up. Yeah. But I really try to give myself the summer to be a human, to have hobbies, to work in my garden, to get inspired, travel, cook a new dish or something. Like, I think you lose your humanity when all you're doing is creating art, and it's kind of like this vicious cycle, because then if you lose touch with what it is to be a human, how can you create good art?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's that balance, right? Like, I know Florence and the Machine is my favorite band of all time.
I love Florence.
And Florence Welch took time off, like hit it really big, was really heavy into addiction, was fighting eating disorders, and took time off, got sober, got clean, like got on a healthier path, and then came out with some of the best albums I think that they've ever created. And it's like she just needed space to be a person, and then she could reconnect with her art form. And there is a huge shift, because some people were unhappy with the kind of sound difference and some of the lyrics, and it was like a little more grounded and a little more like grown up. But for a lot of people, they were like, yes, this is what we've always wanted. Like, we liked you the way you were before, but now we see you and we love it even more. So I think you've got to take a break sometimes, because you've got to be a human first,
right,
so that you can be an artist second.
Well, I think that is a great way to transition to what we are going to be talking about next, which is Taylor Swift's new album. And there's been a lot of talk around this album, as there usually is, but there's different conversations happening this time.
Yep.
And one of those things that has come up is, should she have taken a break? So coming up, we'll dive into Taylor. That's next on Group Chat on BTPM NPR. Thanks for joining us again on Group Chat. I'm your host, Bentley, joined by Ashleigh.
I love it.
Oh my gosh. This
Please keep it in the episode. We're keeping it in the episode.
The busy
Ashleigh.
September. Ashleigh, that's your new character. That's your new Group
I
Chat
love
character.
her.
Ashleigh Chrisena Ricci, actor and host of BTPM's Let's Go. Dr. Naila Ansari-Catillo, professor at Buff State University, choreographer and performing artist, and Donny Kutzbach, co-owner of Town Ballroom and Funtime Presents. So we have been talking about theater and music and how we use it to cope, how artists, what's behind the artist sometimes in mental health ways, or if they're processing things in their life, and then the trajectory of an artist. So you were talking about Florence and the Machine,
Yes,
and Chrisena, and that was a great example of somebody that took a break to address her mental health, to address her addiction, and then came back with music.
better than ever.
Great, right? But one of the things you had mentioned, which I thought was interesting, was that there were people that were putting her down because the music wasn't like what her other music is. So
Sure.
When these discussions are happening around Taylor Swift, I don't want to sound like the curmudgeon old hat in the room, but this is not a new conversation.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like this is always a thing. Now, the Swiftie fan base obviously is a force. It's huge.
Sure.
We know more about, you know, especially in the age of social media, these things we see them. But I don't know how to. This isn't a new argument, you know, of fans wanting an artist to stay in this box that they hold them in.
Sure.
And as a person and an artist, if we're talking about artists as people, is that possible if you're holding true to your art or what you want to produce? Because
I don't know.
This is a machine that's also being fed here.
Oh, well, yeah, for sure. I mean, we have Travis Kelce. I mean, there's a lot in there.
I think Taylor Swift is also, I mean this in a nice way, but I think she's kind of a freakazoid. I think that she is always writing. She's always writing. She's always writing lyrics. She's always writing music. And she was interviewed about writing this album, and she said it actually helped her stay sane during the Eras tour, because if she was just doing the tour, she would have lost her mind. She needed to be creating something new and giving her mind something to work on that wasn't just doing the same show for a million times in a row. So there's an interview where she talks about how she would okay, I've got a few days off, so I'm going to fly here in Europe and meet up with this producer, and we're gonna try to write a couple more songs for this album. So she was using it as her mental health outlet, sort of her creative outlet, because I can imagine that gets draining. You're singing songs that you wrote years ago over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. How do you find, the creative excitement to continue doing that and give everyone an authentic show? That's something that Broadway actors have to find for themselves all the time. And I think a lot of Broadway actors take classes. They try to do little one-offs, little cabarets, and they try to create other art. So I kind of understand where she's coming from with this one, but I think she's just one of those people that sort of her brain is always writing. She's always writing lyrics down. She journals. She talks about how she writes in her journal all the time. She always has. So at this point, it's part of her existence, who she is.
I'm gonna say though, and I'm gonna throw in. I'm gonna throw in a lot of devil's advocate things.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call Taylor Swift a great artist because she is. I think a great artist does have to go do that. You have to go still be creating. You have to find an outlet.
Yeah.
But a great artist knows this might not be my best art, so I am not going to put it out.
Yeah.
And I am by no means a Taylor expert. But what I've heard from this record and what I've heard from the people who I tend to think are the experts have not had a positive reaction to it. So this might be one of those times yes, you needed a better editor, or maybe just hang on to this one for yourself. You don't have to share it with the world. The other thing that I find interesting about it, and again, this is from me just kind of parsing social media, reading about it online, it seems like she's actually very much of the time, which I'll give her credit for, but she is, we are living again in a time, interesting time, I'll call it, that axe grinding, settling scores. It's a big thing going on right now, especially in the leadership of our country. And it seems like she chose this record to sort of go out and purposely continue to fight these fights of people who wronged her in the past between other artists, which I thought which is interesting. And again, it's she's definitely an artist of the time that's reflected in what she's doing. Is it the best move? Is it the best look for her? Maybe, maybe not, but she is of her time.
Yeah. I mean, my niece is getting ready to have a Taylor Swift birthday party, so
Can I
I'll leave
come?
that there. Besties. And I think for me, I struggle because it's does your journal need to be on my playlist every day? I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know that it's, there's certain things. It's at what point does your personal life needs to stay your personal life and just from your perspective, because in some ways you don't allow other people to share their perspective. Like you take a story, which is fine, it's what happened to you, but that's like your version of what happened to you. And because of her stardom, it puts other people into this box of like the assumption is like it's all your fault. Like, this is what you did. Like, I don't rock with you. Like, even like someone like Kelsey, you know, Travis Kelce's ex-girlfriend or whatever. I was trying to follow the you know, the messiness of that.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a platform in the same way that Taylor Swift has to even defend herself on that. So in some ways, it's like, it feels like this little
punching
weird
down.
it's like this like defamation a little bit of people, whether you want to or not. Like, again, I don't know that your journal needs to be our playlist for every single album that you have, every song that you have, because you didn't like your relationship. Or, and I also don't want to necessarily know about all your relationships. I get it, but like, I don't care because they all lasted 2 seconds. Well, so, and you got to be a problem at some point. Where's your? I need that album. I need the I'm the Problem album. That's what I need, because you can't go through that many relationships that fall apart. Granted, that's the world that she's in. So I give it to her on that end. That is difficult to be a celebrity in any kind of relationship.
Yeah.
But like, I want that album. If you're gonna do another,
that sort of was the Tortured Poets department. I think was sort of her talking about what's wrong with her. That's why people liked it so much, because she was sad, Taylor. But this is also like, I have this, Lover was my favorite Taylor Swift album.
Yeah.
Okay? It's pop, it's bubblegum, it is what it is. It's happy. It's happy. I'm a happy person in general. I like to listen to happy music. I liked Lover. Then she released a series of albums that were so depressing. I was like, I can't even listen to this. And people were like, it's art, it's beautiful. And I was like, but that's not what that's not that's not the version of Taylor Swift that I was like, yes, I listened to it. And you can say, oh, this is beautiful. This is so well written. I really like these lyrics. They're very smart. They're very thought out. It's poetically very meaningful. But I was just like, man, all these songs sound the same. And then she released Tortured Poets Department, and it was kind of like a little bit different in tone, but it was a little bit more introspective, where she's talking more about herself. Yeah, she talks about Maddie Healy.
See, I love me.
He's a weirdo. So like, go for it. That was wild.
I love me the dark stuff.
And she didn't talk about Joe Alwyn at all in that album. It's all about her, and then that like this little fling that she had with Maddie Healy.
Because Maddie Healy is that guy that I mean, I don't want to say we, I'll speak for myself.
Get into it, Bentley. Go ahead.
Is that guy that you know that you were just drawn to because they were creative and blah, blah, blah.
He left his typewriter at her house. Like, we've all dated that guy before. So maybe not. Okay.
I feel like Naila,
Bentley and I have dated that guy before.
I left the typewriter.
But that's like the hipster. You know, I was like, yuck.
Get your dead hardware out of my house.
I'm good. Wrap that up. Wrap it up.
So I think like, even though it was short-lived, I think it was like, that was the one I grabbed onto.
Yeah.
But I think to your point, well, to both of your points, what you're hearing is that she always kind of had these, going back to things being relatable, these relatable lyrics, but they were very, I guess they felt very like just like general. But I think that was basic. The appeal was, there was something said that not that long ago that her brilliance in marketing was that she wrote songs that were very accessible, that like you could sing in the car with your kids. Yeah. Like there was nothing ever controversial about her.
Yeah.
Until Reputation, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
And then even then, is that how controversial can Taylor Swift get? Like, was that really controversial in the grand? It might have been controversial for her, but now this is like, people are just going wild with it because she says the word. She says the B word. You know, and it's like, so you're like, when you compare that to other music, you're like, okay, so this is kind of rough for her, but is it because of that, say what you will, like, her marketing team and her business team have really, they're genius. But they've also, that's been connected to, I think her content has been driving that. So how authentic is this really who she is? Or is she happy? The other thing is that I saw, which you might have seen this thing too, is now that she's happy, is she gonna write bad music?
Yeah. Well, but I like it. Like, let the girl be happy. Let her write some bops. Let me just have my bops.
Well, and I think maybe, and that's her. Like, you know what I mean? Like, be happy without your journal entries. Because what I want to know, if we're gonna do journal entries, I want to know how Travis Kelce went from a fade to a mullet. That's the album I want.
Real.
That's the album. Teach the girls. That's the album that I want from Taylor.
That's one of the best. That's been like one of the best memes of the last year. Is the side by side.
Yeah.
That's the album I want from Taylor.
Yeah. So I mean, okay? So obviously we have a very passionate fan base. So is there this expectation to be what the fans want, or do we want the real artist? And do we get to have a say as fans on what a person creates?
I don't think we do. I think as fans, we have a choice as to what we consume. And that's why I don't pre-order all the, I don't know. I like to listen to her music because sometimes she writes something that I think is very like meaningful. She's also partnered with Florence and the Machine on her last album, and that was awesome.
Not this new one.
Not this new one, the last one.
Yeah, I liked when she did the alternate, like when she did when she was doing
Evermore
stuff with the National
and Cardigan and yeah. That was when I was like, I'm bored out of my mind. But like that's but she was creating art, and I think that's great. It wasn't art that I particularly enjoyed from her work, but that's because when I'm looking at Taylor Swift, that's not what I want from her. Yeah. But if she just stops creating pop music, I may not listen to her anymore, and that's okay. Yeah. I'm okay with that. I don't think I have any control over what she creates artistically. She's going to do what she's going to do. She doesn't care about my opinion in Buffalo, New York. Like she's like going to create, she's got so many billions of dollars anyway. She's going to create what she wants to create. But one thing that I think is interesting is that people have been talking about her diss tracks. And I think especially there's a track on this album that's kind of about Charlie XCX. We think maybe. And one thing that I like about it is we talk about like beefs between like hip hop stars and rappers and stuff. It's that. It's just pop, and it's like Taylor Swift. It's like bubblegum.
Doesn't it seem calculated though? A little bit? It seems very inauthentic to me. Yeah. And I will say that it, again, I'm not an expert on all this, but I know that the same thing happened with Charlie XCX and Lorde, and then Lorde came out and they did the Lorde remix of it, which was sort of like, it seemed a little bit more
peace offering.
Yeah, it seemed a little bit more organic in a way. And who knows, maybe none of this is all created. This is all
could be.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Yeah. It's very much being controlled from somewhere else. But yeah, I just think that at this point, Taylor Swift has gotten to be a little bit calculated, and maybe she just jumped on the merry-go-round a little bit quicker than she could have on this one. Yeah. But I'm not buying the records, not for me. So I just like to sit back and watch and occasionally throw my 2 cents.
Yeah. Because we need like a Rihanna, we need a Rihanna read on a tweet. That is, if we're going to do pop world tweets, like a little Rihanna shade is where it needs to be at. Like call it out where you need to call it out. Because in some ways the album can feel kind of like you're hiding behind something. It's like, oh, if are you acting like that in person? Do you give that same energy? Like I want to see them in person now that they had the little diss track. Like, what's that look like?
Well, and it's also a little ironic because I feel like she has also made statements how you don't do this. You don't put down other women. You don't call women the B word.
Sure.
So now it's like, okay, which part is okay? Like, is this not, she always claimed to take the high road. So
I think until Reputation, that's when things changed. That's when she started releasing diss tracks back to people who were, because Charlie XCX has been very vocal and making fun.
Because I don't know.
See, that's the thing. So like she has been very vocal, like making fun of Taylor. Like
boring Barbie
public, boring Barbie, calling her names. Boring Barbie is what she said.
Okay.
So yeah, because Barbie, I would be like, thank you. Like this Barbie has billions, like I would not be upset by that. But that was the diss track that she wrote, quote unquote, is or quote unquote diss track is called Romantic, and so the whole thing is like. That's so, like, I'm honestly not even offended that you would call me boring Barbie. Like, that's just romantic that I can't use all the words that she uses, but I don't believe she actually calls this person the beard.
No.
She calls herself that.
Mhm.
Just like, because I agree. I think there's this like standard that she has set, and how does she walk that line between like calling people back out? But that's sort of, she's messy. Taylor Swift has said she's messy.
Well, that's the
I'm
thing.
here
It's just
for
like,
it.
why?
Why
Why
not?
I think people are I think people are thrown off by that. I think
because she's so bubblegum.
Yeah.
Like, but like for me, I think Donny and I just can't take it seriously because it's just like, especially when you see like rap beefs and people about to die.
Yes.
Like in your Addy Finch, you're
And
like,
she's
well, I hope
holding her,
nobody
like,
pops
two
off here
cats.
tonight.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? It's
in an era when diss tracks, when you have Kendrick Lamar and it's hard to take even that, and that's still art. It got serious and all that, but it's still just art. And I guess it's
like we're still like Nas, Ether, Jay-Z. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm still back on East Coast, West Coast. So I mean,
exactly.
But I think maybe that is the new way. You know, like that's the way that
the pop kids want to be able to have beef culture too. So
right?
I guess let's let them have it.
Maybe it's not as dangerous as our beef culture, y'all.
No, it's like candy coated beef.
It is.
That sounds good.
I was like, is that really a diss track? I'm like, is that beef? It was like a line, and like, but I think, especially now, if obviously present company excluded when I talk about media now. I think that there's just so many people that are writing about these things that are influencers that are, that are just trying to grab that thought or idea that is going to get them noticed. So they're going to pull out the smallest things in a song.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to make the small things into big things.
Yeah.
When it could have been she was just having a bad day and something really made her angry about her and that ended up in the song.
Yeah.
But it's like when you actually listen to these songs, it's like, it's not that big of a deal.
Right, yeah. Kendrick hurt my feelings. And I wasn't even Drake. Like, I was like, oh,
man.
That was like...
That was great.
Yeah.
Loved every second of it.
I felt that. Like, I wanted to dig into it even more. I was like,
But the turnaround, too. Like, you know what I mean? But it was a battle. It was a quick turn. Like,
boom, boom.
The artistry of, like, that.
That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping we get some, like, crazy Charlie XCX, like bop in the winter that is like this angry pop song at Taylor Swift, and then they can just keep battling and I'll just keep gobbling up all of their pop music and dancing it out at the club. You know what I mean? That's what I'm hoping for.
I'm already bored by that. So like I love listen, same. I want the like upbeat. I don't know. I just think this is like kind of weak. Like this
it just seems manufactured.
I have a video of someone who raps her lyrics like they've turned it into a hip hop song that obviously I can't play on air, but I will show you guys after and just to show you because I think it's interesting.
It's with Swifties.
That's my plan, my evil plan. No, Donnie's already a lost cause. Donnie's gone.
We're gonna be Taylor TikTok detectives next week. Oh wait, I got this one for you. You're not gonna believe
this song means.
Yeah, next time I see you all, I'm gonna have friendship bracelets for you. They might say Taylor haters, but like I'll get you friendship bracelets.
Can I have a sad Taylor bracelet? Because I think
sure, you just like sad Taylor. That's okay.
My niece
I don't
already
know what
has
I
like picture posters of her with like on the Taylor Swift album, like for her birthday party,
That's
ready
so
to go. T-shirts.
But
everything.
what a good role model though for like a young
she
girl to
loves
see
Taylor
that
Swift.
like.
Which is why I keep my comments to myself.
Yeah.
Like,
and
okay,
all
girl.
of you listeners at home, don't tell Naila's niece.
when is this birthday party? But as we are gonna, get out of that into our weekend plans.
My bad. Sorry.
No.
I felt really strongly about Taylor Swift.
No, I'm glad we needed that. We needed the balancing perspectives because I think this album there's been two sides.
Yeah.
And one of those sides is the fans. So you have Taylor Swift fans and you have Taylor Swift stans.
Yes.
And so I think there's been a divide amongst fans. It's not even the people that aren't like Taylor Swift fans. It's within.
It's a house divided right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think this is what we needed.
Yeah.
We needed this real discussion.
Which is also interesting.
It is.
Naila, what's going on for you this weekend? I know you have the Sunday performance.
Yeah, it's going to New York City at the Lincoln Center, passing the crown. So anyone in New York City, go get your tickets. Lincoln Center, David Geffen Hall. Super dope. MC Light, Rhapsody.
I want to go so bad.
All women bands.
Yeah.
String section.
Yeah.
Killing it. B-Girls, everything.
Yeah, we need, we're going to talk to Donny about
Yes,
some
come
things
on,
after
Donny,
off mic. No pressure. Chrisena, how about you?
I'll be in rehearsals all weekend. You know me. I'll be in rehearsals for String at the Kavinoki Theater. We open the first weekend in November, so coming soon.
Yeah. Now, people need to be reminded that the theater season continues through to spring, right? Like the May, because even though
it won't stop until May or June,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the theater. But there's always theater to be seen. Whether it's at 710 or the Smith Theater, or there's a million different
there's so
great
many shows
places
coming up.
in Western New York. Really just a lot of great work happening.
Yeah, I think it gets a lot of attention in September because of the kickoffs and curtain up, but
it's
like
all
there's all year.
Yep.
And especially when you get into the holidays and, you know, so not a lack of things to do. Do people take a break from theater in the summer because of all the shows you put on, Donny, in the summer outside?
That'd be fun.
No, but we
though.
need Donny because theater it gets real quiet outside of Shakespeare in the Park. So we need something to keep us going.
Yeah, I don't seem to ever get a break. We go outside and we go outside in the summer, but we're inside all winter. Now we're getting back into a lot of inside shows and
And your plans for this weekend are, as always, the Buffalo Bills.
I have to by Monday. I have to get to Atlanta. My daughter is walking in a fashion show at 500 Seneca. It's a house of resold wings. So Isabella Kutzbach, Izzy Blue Kutzbach is in that one.
Oh, that's awesome.
Cool.
And I got to get to Atlanta. I've got a bunch of shows this weekend, but in between, I may try to go see a certain film that I've seen twice already. It's a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. That's all I'm going to say. I might go see it a third time.
What is it?
One Battle After Another.
Oh, okay.
I was
It's so
actually
good.
just thinking about finding a good movie.
That's been on my brain nonstop, and I saw it the day it came out, and then I saw it like 3 days later, and I'm like, I got to go see it again.
Yeah.
So it's
Great.
it's
right on my list.
It's a good piece of art, and you're talking about mental health and
Sure.
the times right now, and it's a masterpiece. I love it.
Paul Thomas
Yeah.
Anderson. So.
Yeah.
Well, okay. See, that is the thing about the weekend plans is we always get good suggestions. So I like to give those to people. That wraps up today's episode of Group Chat for now. If you want to continue the conversation, make sure you follow us on Instagram at BTPMNPR. Also check us out on the video podcast on Buffalo Toronto Public Media's YouTube channel. I'd like to thank my guests, Ashleigh Chrisena Ricci, Naila Ansari-Catillo, and Donny Kutzbach, and the Group Chat team. Producer, Haley Hellenbrook, audio engineer and editor, Rich Ells. Yay! Technical director Bailey Kreitzoff, social media assistant Katie Doherty, production intern Samantha Heppel and Justin Schweitzberg, director of audio strategy SJ Velasquez, director of content Pat Kelly, and executive producer Lynn Bader. I'm your host Bentley. Have a great weekend and thanks for listening.